Today on Around Kansas, Deb is on the road reporting from the Trail Days Cafe and Museum in Council Grove. Next, we mix outdoors history and cooking into a fun segment at the Mahaffie Stagecoach Stop Farm in Olathe. Then Kyle Bowers on the front porch with Jeff Hutton. Ron Wilson talks about challenges with his smartphone. And we end sharing Native American history with special guest Mark Brooks from the Kaw Mission State Historic Site in Council Grove.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Olathe, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich. Welcome to Around Kansas. Coming to you from Council Grove this morning. We are at the cafe owned by Ken and Shirley McClintock. And you might see their Kansas Finest Award right there behind me. And Ken and Shirley certainly are Kansas Finest. And they've lovingly restored this home and operate it as a restaurant and always have a story for travelers. So it's just an amazing place. Hope you can stop by and see them sometime. We have been in Council Grove now for a couple of days. Joanne Van Coveren and myself have been following Chef Walter Stabe from Philadelphia around. He's upstairs cooking with Shirley right this minute. He's been at the Mahaffie Stagecoach Stop cooking with Kelly Lang, and we're going to have a segment about that later on in the show this morning, so stay with us. Just beautiful. I can't tell you how stunning it was. Chef Walter got to ride the stagecoach, and he was so excited. Ken made me a wonderful cup of coffee. So Chef Walter was just so gracious. I cannot tell you how sweet this man is. And those of you familiar with A Taste of History on PBS or Amazon Prime, it's available there too, and maybe even YouTube. Lots of ways you can watch. This is part of season 11, the episodes along the Santa Fe Trail, so they will be on this spring. So we will stay tuned and we'll keep you informed about that. Also want to remind you that my friend Jeannie Mithen has put up the markers in historic Topeka Cemetery for the men and one woman who died from Topeka in World War I, and those are going to be up a few more days. So take time as we mark this historic anniversary of World War I to go through Topeka Cemetery and all your cemeteries to pay respects to those veterans of World War I. We have just a tremendous show for you. I can't tell you how excited. Our Native American History Month is continuing with the Kaw Mission here in Council Grove, and of course so many stories of our Kaw roots, you know, and of course Kansas is named for the Kaw, and we should, every school kid, every citizen of Kansas should know everything they can about the Kaw Nation. And my good friend Pauline Sharp came out to Wallace and spoke a couple of weeks ago. It was just a wonderful, wonderful presentation. And of course, Council Grove, the Kaw Mission, is closed for the winter right now, but they are reopening with a new Santa Fe Trail themed exhibits talking about their role in the Santa Fe Trail commerce. So it's just tremendous. Trying to think about all the other cool things that are happening. Michelle Martin is going to be back next week, I think, with another story for us. She's got lots of stuff coming up. Just so glad to have her contributing to the show and being a part of it, because she's such a tremendous researcher, historian, storyteller, and of course my very dear friend. So I'm just so excited. We have so many things going on. It's so wonderful to visit with Chef Walter. And when we were at the Hayes house having supper last night here in Council Grove, ran into guys who were hunting from Texas and Arkansas and all over the place. So we got a lot of visitors this time of year. You know, a lot of folks think, well, weather's getting cold, but that brings the hunters in. So make those folks feel welcome wherever they are in your neck of the woods, your neighborhood. Make them welcome. All right, got a great show today.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies
Kim
and
Mannering with Hardy
mountains
Insurance.
to Mexico.
Today we will talk about employee
2021,
safety and work comp
we will mark
coverage.
200 years
On
of
your farm,
epic
do you
conflicts
ask
and
your
grand
friends to
adventures,
come help?
larger than
Are they
life
considered
personalities,
employees
and
or
sweeping
neighbors
landscapes.
helping neighbors?
Join
Did
us
you know
on an historic
that
journey.
you can be
The
held
Santa Fe
responsible
Trail
just
lives
as
on.
if it's a work
Find us on
comp
social media
accident?
or
Give me a call. We can
santaFetrail.org.
discuss. 316 Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
My name's Karen Cope and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before, because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Olathe.
Mahaffie Stagecoach Stop has been one of my favorite places since I moved to Kansas, and now it is one of Chef Walter Stabe's favorite places. I cannot express how gracious the staff, Alexis and Tim and all the folks at the Stagecoach Stop were to Chef Stabe and ourselves while we were working on these episodes, and you're going to love this segment. The kitchen of the Mahaffie Stagecoach Stop and Historic Farm site was warm and cozy. The fire crackled in the newly restored stove. Spices lined the shelf, venison and buffalo on the table waiting to be cooked, chestnuts already boiled and peeled. Katie Lang, dressed in her 1860s finest, welcomed Chef Walter Stabe and his crew. Invited by the Santa Fe Trail Association to be part of the trail's bicentennial, Chef Walter's visit had come to fruition. Katie and Chef commenced cooking. Chef Walter is host of the multi-Emmy award-winning PBS series A Taste of History. He operates the City Tavern in Philadelphia and intertwines history with a passion for food, real food, historic food. James and Lucinda Mahaffie came to Kansas before it was a state and settled in Olathe. By 1865, they had built the fine stone house that still stands on the Santa Fe Trail. Though they always considered themselves farmers, a stage line contracted with the family to provide meals and other necessities for the stages passing by. Lucinda's reputation for tasty meals was spread up and down the trail. Katie and Chef Walter recreated one of those meals while the cameras rolled. They chopped and sampled and reveled in their mutual love of food and history. The bounty of the land, whether from hunting or gardening and raising livestock, was brought to the table, seasoned and stewed. In the interim, Chef Walter got a ride on the stagecoach, took a tour of the historic home from Alexis Woodall, and learned a bit about oxen and hitching horses. Site director Tim Talbot shared the story of the trail on this very spot. Katie and Chef Walter sampled their feast near day's end: bison stew, venison and chestnut pudding, a savory and complicated dish wrapped in dough and boiled, and a pie made from dried peaches. Simple foods for simpler times along the Santa Fe Trail. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Olathe, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways: I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle Bauer, and today I'm visiting with Jeff Hutton. He is a meteorologist with NOAA Weather in Dodge City, Kansas, has been there for many, many years. We're talking with him about Kansas weather and Kansas climate.
If you look at a climate database, in other words, the high temperature today, the normal, if you want to call it the normal, and remember, normal is nothing more than an average of extremes, and so the averages that we're taking is a 30-year period. And so right now, the National Climatic Data Center uses the years 1981 to 2010. So whatever happened in that period, 1981 to 2010, that's what we're basing the normal or average off of. So, for instance, let's just look at Dodge City, the April precipitation. So if you go from that period, about 2.25. If you would take a period, let's say 1971 to 1990, or 1971 to 2001, it's going to be different. So it's kind of a moving average, if you will, but it's based on those periods, 71 to 2001, 81 to 2010, and then soon 1991 to 2020 once we get to that point.
So has the rainfall average changed over the period of the time the National Weather in Dodge City, Kansas? I know we've definitely had dry years and wet years, but is it pretty much the same?
Actually, you see that if you just take a 30-year moving average, it is actually going up a little bit. And there's still ups and downs within that 30-year period,
sure.
But I'm looking at the data right now, and kind of the upward trend again is about when we started the irrigation out in the high plains. Well,
that's exactly got me to thinking about it. I thought, well, gosh, with all that evapotranspiration, you would think that it would increase rainfall just because there's more moisture in the air that could fall out.
And I think part of that's true, and you can go down in the Panhandle too, where they're doing the irrigation, eastern Colorado, a little bit. But still, you can get a weather system and it's just strong enough, it doesn't matter. It pushes all that dry air in and shoves the moist air back to the east. And I think we may see a little bit more of that when we come to a stagnant weather pattern during the, let's say, late spring or summer period, where you don't have strong weather systems moving the air around that much. And so we might see That'd be an interesting thing, I guess, is to check our summer precipitation and see if there's a trend there a little bit.
Well, that's one thing here is in north central Kansas, as we get into those dry months, if we have something coming out of Nebraska, we feel like, well, there's probably a fair chance we're going to get some rain. But if we're not in a dry period and it's coming out of southwest Kansas, it's like, yeah, we're not very hopeful.
Yeah, it's interesting, too. We're at the 100th meridian, so we're 100 degrees west of longitude. So if you go north of us, the average precipitation, let's say up at Norton, is a little bit higher than it is right here. And it's simply because late spring, early summer, the moisture comes up from the Gulf of Mexico has been sitting around the Central Plains, is actually brought back into western Nebraska. And so, and then you get into a weather pattern where the flow aloft is from west or northwest to southeast. And that's why the stuff that generates in western Nebraska rolls through your area a lot more readily than it does down in southwestern Kansas. So it's interesting. You go north a little bit, and the annual precipitation is a little bit greater. And I've seen that too, just some of the dryland corn, as you go north towards Hill City from Dodge City, you see a little bit more up in that direction.
Well, we even see it in Clay County, the difference between southern Clay County and northern Clay County. It just seems like Highway 24 is a dividing line. Of course, it's always the other guy who gets a rain. It's never you, right?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Especially when you need it. Weather and climate variability. Does mankind in the plains
help or hurt? I don't know. I mean, what you'd have to have is a control, and an experiment, you always have a control. And so you have to have where you didn't do anything, so you didn't break out the sod, you didn't plant trees, you didn't have irrigation, and then compare that to what we have now. So because we can't do that, there's no way to ever completely say yes or no to that question. So sure, I'm sure we've got on a micro scale maybe a little bit of contribution, and I think this signal here from when irrigation started, I think that's plausible. Is it 100% guaranteed that's what's happening? No, absolutely not. Can we prove it without uncertainty? No, we can't, because we don't have that control. But yeah, maybe we're having a little bit of impact there. Good or bad, I can't really say.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Trust and leadership are critical to success at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center in Manhattan. Just ask Coach Bill Snyder.
People of the Regenerative Center do care about others. I've been highly impressed with those people that have that vested interest and try to help people become better. The center really is a wonderful thing here in Manhattan, first of its kind, and we're on the cutting edge of what lies ahead.
Find out more about the trusted leader in stem cell therapy at kansasrmc.com. Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
One of my favorite themes is cowboys and technology, probably because I'm technologically challenged. Even the simple cell phone can sometimes befuddle me, and it inspired me to write the following poem. It's called The Smartphone, Dumb and Dumber. They showed me a new smartphone down at the cell phone store. They said it could check email and take pictures and do more. It had so many features that I almost forget. You could get a bunch of apps and surf the internet. So I bought that brand new cell phone, even though it made me nervous. The next Sunday, I was sitting in our Sunday church service. The preacher was a-going on his Sunday sermon thing when that cell phone chose that very time in which to ring. Well, my face got all red and I fumbled for my phone and turned the darn thing off to stop the noxious tone. After the service, I said that I was sorry to the preacher, but he was very gracious about my interrupting feature. It was the next morning I rode out to check the cattle, to look for newborn calves and to fight the coyote battle. The herd was fine. But when I got my horse back to the stalls, I checked the time on my phone and found I'd missed 3 calls. My wife had called from town about a part that we were needing, plus the order buyer called and a man about cattle feeding. I was so disgusted to have missed those calls for sure, but the phone was all turned off from what I'd done the day before. And that is how it's gone with this cell phone ever since. It's always the wrong way, which always makes me wince. How can it be that this is how it's always gone? When I want it on, it's off, and when I want it off, it's on. There must be something wrong with this phone, at least in part. I thought the dadgum salesman said this stupid phone was smart. I was cussing out this cell phone. I was really on a tear. Then my wife made some comment about operator error. So I think the time has come, even though it is a slam, to admit this dadgum smartphone is smarter than I am. Happy trails.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Practical, profitable genetics. It's not just a slogan, but our expectation for every Dale Banks bull we market. They won't be a one-trait wonder, but they will offer optimum levels of the most predictable genetics in the industry today. They'll be developed on forage, backed by decades of data, fertility tested, foot scored, and freeze branded. We'll sell 150 yearling and coming 2-year-old bulls in our Practical, Profitable Genetics bull sale on Saturday, November 23rd at the ranch near Eureka, Kansas. For information, call the Perriers at 620-583-4305 or dalebanks.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Supply. This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Our friend Mark Brooks helped us out a couple of years ago when we did the film Our Charlie about Charles Curtis, and he talked about the CAW here in Council Grove, and that's the story I wanted him to share with you today. He is the site director at the CAW Mission State Historic Site. So I'm just so glad that Mark could join us this morning.
The Kanza were a tribe that was located in the northeast part of what is now Kansas. They also go by the name of Kaw. They at one time controlled 20 million acres of land, and in 1825, Chief White Plume deeded or sold that to the United States government, 18 million acres of it, to William Clark of Lewis and Clark fame. They lived for 20 years on a 2 million acre reservation, and in 1846 they agreed to new terms which moved them to Council Grove on a 20 mile by 20 mile reservation, 256,000 acres of land. They lived there on that reservation in 3 villages, 3, 7, and 10 miles south of Council Grove. They had 3 chiefs, one chief being the overall chief. Chief Olathe was the main chief for many years. And then in 1859, Council Grove discovers that they're an illegal town, that they're in the middle of an Indian reservation. So they negotiate and force the Kansas to sell more land, reduces their reservation down to about 9 by 14 miles, about 80,000 acres of land. It does push Council Grove outside of the reservation, and now they can incorporate. The Kansas are continually pressured by white squatters who plow their fields, who cut their timber, who move into houses that were specifically built for them. And then in 1867, the chiefs are summoned to Washington, D.C. by Commissioner Bogie. He tells Olathe, you have 2 choices. One, you can stay in Kansas and become United States citizens, or 2, you can go to Indian Territory and live as free Indians. The following day, Bogey rescinds the first offer, and their plans are they will go to Indian Territory. And in 1873, the Kansas, 2 weeks prior to them leaving, come to Council Grove and give out gifts to all the people who live in Council Grove. And 2 weeks later, they pack up what few belongings they have, and they head to Oklahoma, present-day Oklahoma, Indian Territory, to live on a reservation about 101,000 acres, which is in Cade County, Oklahoma today. Their tribal headquarters is Kaw City, and they are a thriving community, tribe doing quite well. But behind me, this is Chief Washunga, who becomes head chief of the Kansas after they go to Indian Territory. He is the last full-blooded Kansas chief that the tribe has. And Council Grove has a yearly celebration named after Chief Washunga. Here at the Kaw Mission, we tell the Kaw story.
It has been great spending Wednesday morning with you. Go out and have a historic day. I'm Deb Goodrich, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.